All right, we are live and ready to roll here. Welcome to the May 21st meeting of the Library Board. First, let's go around and do roll call. We'll just kind of start at the end.
John Rodenbaker.
Wanda Mangelcook.
Kristen Schipper.
Amy Oren.
Jenna Reno.
Hannah James.
Paul Jensen.
All right, it's kind of a fun day. We have everyone physically here in person for the Library Board today. Okay, next we are going to go to approval order of the agenda. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll move for approval of the order of the agenda as presented to us today.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Then moving on to item number 2, we have approval of our April 16th meeting minutes. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll move approval of the minutes.
Okay. Is there a second?
I can second it.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Oh, all right. Moving on to number 3 is public comment. I think people didn't like the rain today. That's fine. Number 4, staff report with Megan.
Hello.
Hi.
I wanted to mention that we're hiring for a few positions right now. We're hiring for 2 librarian positions. One closed yesterday. The other closes at the end of the month. We also have a page position open right now and another part-time circulation position that will be being posted soon because we have somebody leaving beginning of June. We're at a few community engagements this next month, so we encourage you to attend those events and come visit the library tables. And we're getting into summer reading time. This year's theme is Adventure Begins at the Library. Pre-registration is already live on the Beanstack app. You can start logging things June 3rd. That's also when we'll have paper logs available at our locations. Also on June 3rd, we are having our kickoff event. That is at Row Farm this year. It goes from 10 to 2, and there's going to be lots of activities. I also wanted to mention that the annual summer reading video is Indiana Jones themed this year. It is up on our Facebook page, and I checked earlier today and it was not up on our YouTube page yet, but it probably will be soon. So I encourage you to watch that. One other children's event I want to mention is a visit from Smokey Bear, or Smokey the Bear? Smokey the Bear.
Smokey though.
Smokey the Bear.
That's what I said.
He turns 80 years old this year and will be visiting the library for a special story time on June 10th.
He looks really good
For 80.
for 80.
Yeah.
Mhm.
An upcoming teen craft is tie-dyeing t-shirts. All supplies are being provided, including the shirts. So when kids register, they'll be contacted to get their size. And for adults, we have done a few crafting and movie events, but we're trying something different this time. Instead of making a wreath, they will be doing Lisa Frank-inspired diamond art while watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And to go along with the adventure theme for summer, we're also hosting a new walking club that's going to be meeting on Saturday mornings at a different park in town every meet. I also wanted to mention, I think it's been officially announced since our last board meeting that the One Book, One Community book for this coming fall is The River We Remember by William Kent Kruger.
William Kent Kruger.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Is the walking club generally for adults, or can that be?
It can be anybody. It's aimed for adults, but anybody's welcome.
Okay, great. Does anyone have any questions at all for Megan? I always say this is the most wonderful time of the year is the summer reading kickoff. I love it. All right. Moving on to our director's report.
Yes, per your packet, you can see my report there. One thing back last Friday, you can see it there under Director's Activities, gave the 2025 budget presentation to the city's budget team. That was kind of the initial discussion. That went really well. There may be follow-up department meetings the weeks of June 17th and the 24th, with the mayor's preliminary budget due out in mid-July. It's been generally my experience that once things are in or not in the mayor's preliminary budget, that's pretty much what you're looking at for the next fiscal year. So if they want more discussion, I'll be more than happy to talk to them about it. If anyone has any questions about that or the rest of my report that you see for your packet.
Any questions at all? Do you generally have a lot of people that come in during your open door office hours?
I haven't. I generally don't. But I think it's important to have it.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of a standing thing. And so folks know it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on. Oh, we have no unfinished business. So we'll go on to number 7. We have rules of conduct policy draft.
Yes, per your packet, you can see, and again, this is an update to this policy, very important policy. Obviously, working with the admin team and city attorney's office. The major change being the prohibiting of using recording devices in the library. You know, in the discussions with city attorney's office, that in itself is not somebody being recorded in a public place couldn't generally be prohibited, but with the caveat language, if you see on the second page, in terms of its interruption, is allowed as long as it does not unreasonably interfere with the rights of other patrons or prevents staff from serving patrons and or performing their job responsibilities. And certainly prohibiting it within restrooms, obviously. So that was just based on conversations with the city attorney's office, and there's some other tweaks based on discussions with the admin team. So if anyone has any questions in that regard.
Are you having a lot of problems with the people coming in, sleeping, offensive, personal hygiene, etc.? Do you have incidences every day, every week?
I would say in terms of sleeping, I would say it's pretty much every day. Certainly that's, just this afternoon, there was an individual that was unconscious and intoxicated and had to wake him up, but he was nice enough to get up and leave and this kind of thing. So it's a constant thing that we deal with. And certainly going back to my discussion with the finance folks on last Friday is why the library safety specialist is such an important, would be such an important addition to us. Kind of maintaining that environment, working with the contract security folks, make sure they're doing their job so we're getting the return on our investment for those folks. And really being that proactive presence. I do the best I can, but I have a few other things to do, obviously. So, yeah, it's a continual challenge, and we face it. Each one has various levels of situations. One person might be okay 1 minute, and then they're face down on the computer keyboard the next, and you're trying to wake them up. And sometimes you eventually have to call first responders to get them out. Sometimes folks are in such a condition they can't walk out, and this different thing. So it's a continual challenge.
Okay. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the rules of conduct as corrected.
I'll second that.
Second. All right. Is there any further discussion at all on this? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. All right. Motion passes. All right, moving on to number 8. We have the statistical reports, April usage.
Per your packet, you can see, continuing with the strong year so far in 2024, you can see attendance up year-to-date 17% over the previous year, which is great. Programming attendance, you can see there, you can see that the passive children's, that being, again, the scavenger hunt, which is immensely popular at all locations. And just across the board, things are strong in terms of internet sign up, electronic activity. In terms of circulation, you can see that even across the board, across the various types, that's all been strong. And then year-to-date, we're up over 11% over 2023. And I added another spreadsheet just to kind of highlight kind of where we are and kind of the trends that we're dealing with, and they're all good. And you can see with a 6-month look back with the end of April, that the highlighted, emboldened numbers, that represents that highest circulation by that month. And you can see that it goes historically all the way back to 2009, which was the genesis of the 3 locations as of April of 2009. So you can see that 2019 overall was our record year with 1,047,165. We're on pace currently in 2024 to surpass that. And you can see back, like I said, the 6-month, starting in November of last year, we started getting on each month being a record month for that month. And a lot of the driver is, I guess, strength in across the board in circulation. I think, exponential growth obviously is e-content. It's obviously the most expensive content that we have, asking for more resources because of it's so popular, and the community wants it. But it's exciting to see, this is certainly post-COVID in terms of our numbers, and it's good to see that. With that comes the challenges of the workflows and volumes that we're dealing with, but it's exciting to see people just across the board, what we're offering is being consumed by the community, being utilized by the community, and it's tremendous.
Great. Does anyone have any questions at all with this? I think this is really cool.
Thought it was very nice to have it included also.
Yeah.
When is the limit? Is it Hoopla that we were imposing limits?
Correct.
What-
It went from 6 to 4
In,
per month.
in April?
Yes.
In April, okay.
Beginning of May.
Okay.
Excuse me. Yeah, beginning of May. And a cutoff on terms of per unit cost. I think it was like $2.99 or $2.88 or something of that nature. In terms of that's the most expensive item you can check out. Obviously, any items that are more expensive, they don't show up
Right.
when the folks look for them. But that's what we had to do to try and, we used to do 8, and then it went to 6, and now it's down to 4.
Right.
And again, it's one of those things that the model, as it becomes more popular, you have to economize it. And so that's just the way it goes.
So do you think we'll see a hit in the May numbers based on that change?
Well, Hoopla, if you go back to the other sheet, in the top there, you can see the monthly and year-to-date numbers of both Overdrive, children's devices, Hoopla, Canopy. And the strongest one, if you look at Overdrive, that's far more significant in terms of its overall impact, in terms of overall use. So I think given that formula hasn't changed, we may see some to a certain degree. It'll be interesting what May numbers look like. But again, if you look at a lot of the other numbers across the board in terms of also physical items, in terms of print, that's up almost 4% over last year too. It's a challenge. We'd like to provide, the full economy of what folks would hope to get in some reasonable way. But when it's a model in terms of payment that does not lend itself to static budgeting. Mm-hmm. You eventually have to narrow it down so it fits to that amount of money that you've budgeted to it, and not, well, let's allocate another $40,000. Well, we don't have another $40,000 to allocate.
Is it also true that we would have a physical product, a physical book or a physical publication in the library? Rather
If
than
it's a
going
popular item, bestseller, we try and meter in terms of the number of holds to try and get obviously physical holds versus e-holds and try and balance it. So, and again, that it gets economized at some point as well.
Okay.
So, depending on the title, some we get multiple copies of it because it's just so popular.
Yeah, other than the bestsellers and everything else, if I wanted to do a William Kent Kruger from 5 years ago, that would also be physically in the library and on Hoopla and Overdrive.
You know, maybe I think physically it may very well be in the library, depending on the title, the age, the condition,
Okay.
that kind of thing. It's like anything else, you know, we look at, obviously you when the holds go up, you buy additional copies, and then you follow how that eventually, they have the bell curve in terms of popularity and get on the other end, and then folks go in there and say, okay, this copy, this copy, this copy, these are all beat up and they've lived their life and now they need to go to the friends, if you will. Some things, you know, just physically fall apart and then they have to go, and depending on age, they may be available, they may not be available.
All right, any other questions to go along with usage? No? All right, financials.
Right, looking at the donation summary, on the revenue side, the $2,052, that came $1,000 in memory of Mary Jo and John Grove. Also a gift of $977 from the American Online Giving Foundation, and $75 in memory of Norma Pelletier. The 7,600 restricted donations are from the Friends. Thank you, Friends, for that. $3,750 for the Northern Narratives Program. The other amount is $3,850 for the Summer Reading Challenge. Again, thank you for the Friends for that. On the expenditure side, the $538 is ads for the Summer Reading Challenge. Again, that's Friends money being expended. Thank you, Friends. The $2,593, $134 of that for Crafternoons. Again, that's Friends. And then $2,459 and some odd cents for the Summer Reading Challenge. And the $559 is $30 of Way to Go cards for staff acknowledgement, and $529 for National Library Week for staff, celebrating library staff. And again, thank you for the Friends. If it wasn't for the Friends, we wouldn't be able to do that for the staff, and we're very thankful for the Friends in that regard. In terms of operating, with 33% of the year lapse, we're looking at right around a little over 33 expended on in terms of front end of that kind of thing. In terms, and continue to watch budget obviously as we go through the year. Revenue, you can see $12,475.38 through the end of April. If anyone has any questions.
Any questions?
Looking at like the, like what I would call miscellaneous revenue, fines, you know, a couple years ago, kind of you passed a policy that there are no more book fines. Have you noticed any difference in money wise? Are you missing money from fines, or just a moot point?
You know, again, the city has never viewed the library as a department that generates revenue. You know, I think in my mind, the more salient analysis is if we're getting stuff back or not. And I would say we're still getting stuff back without fines.
Because you still charge for lost items
Correct.
or damaged items.
Correct.
We're just not doing the fine part, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
They waited for my kids to get out of the house and then they changed.
thanks. You made sure I still had 3 in my house to keep that rule in play.
I had kind of a circular payment process with them.
You were a revenue source.
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, any other questions? No one from Friends of the Library here today either. Our next meeting is June 18th. Maybe it'll be a little sunnier that day. We are adjourned.